What are you doing?
Min-jun, I would sit down, Chief, before you make this significantly worse for yourself.
How do you feel?
Strange. Light. Like I put something down and now I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
The glass shattered before anyone said a word. Adaeze had been carrying the breakfast tray when Folake's elbow, deliberate, unhurried, caught the edge of it. 3 crystal glasses. Gone. The sound rang through the marble hallway like a verdict. Folake. Oh, you should be more careful. Adaeze crouched down and began picking up the pieces. One by one. Her fingers moved without trembling. Her face gave nothing away. 8 months she had worked in this house. 8 months of invisible cruelty, of spoiled food blamed on her, of hours stretched past midnight without extra pay, of a family that looked through her the way people look through glass. 8 months of swallowing it. Every single morning, she woke up, tied her apron, and reminded herself why she was here. Not because she needed the money. Because she needed something else entirely. She placed the last shard on the tray and stood. Folake had already walked away. The Adeyemi estate sat in the most expensive pocket of Lagos, 5 floors of white marble and imported stone, surrounded by manicured hedges that staff trimmed by hand every Thursday. Chief Adeyemi had built it the way he built everything, on the backs of people who never saw a receipt. His wife hosted charity lunches here. His daughter got engaged here. And his family had stolen here, quietly, legally, with lawyers and signatures, and the kind of cruelty that never leaves bruises. Adaeze knew every corner of this house. She knew which floorboards creaked outside the study. She knew that Chief Adeyemi kept his most sensitive files in the second drawer of his mahogany desk, not the safe. She knew that Mrs. Adeyemi drank 2 glasses of wine before every dinner and 3 glasses when she was anxious. She had learned all of it slowly, patiently, the way her mother once taught her to tend a fire. You don't rush heat, you build it. Her mother. Grace Okonkwo had run a fabric business from a single stall in Balogun Market for 11 years. She had built it from nothing, her hands, her eye for design, her reputation. Traders came from Abuja, from Port Harcourt, from across the border, just for Grace's work. She had a gift for color combinations that felt like emotion made tangible. Warm golds and deep burgundies. Forest greens against cream. She never went to design school. She didn't need to. Then the Adeyemis became customers. Mrs. Adeyemi had placed a bulk order, the largest of Grace's career. She had been so happy. She had called Adaeze on the phone laughing. "We are on our way, my daughter. We are on our way." She had delivered the full order. Signed every paper they put in front of her, because she trusted them, because they were big people and big people did not lie to small ones. Or so she believed. Within 3 months, a clothing line appeared in a boutique on Victoria Island. Grace's designs. Grace's color combinations. Different name, different label, different price tag, 5 times higher. When Grace tried to fight it, she found that every supplier she called had received a quiet message: "Do not work with Grace Okonkwo." She did not know the word blacklisting then. She learned it from a lawyer who told her, gently, that her case was too expensive to win. She closed the stall. She tried again. Doors kept closing. She got sick. Not dramatically, just the slow way that hopelessness eats a body. By the time Adaeze flew back from Abuja, where she had been working as a restaurant chef, her mother was in a hospital bed, apologizing for things that were never her fault. "Grace, don't let them forget what they did. Don't let them move on as if it never happened." She died on a Tuesday in March. The Adeyemis attended a boat party that same weekend. Adaeze had stood at the graveside and made a promise to a woman who could no longer hear it. Then she had gone home, eaten nothing, slept 4 hours, and started planning. It had taken her 5 months to get the job. She had built a false reference trail from 3 restaurants that existed, but would never verify her tenure. She had learned which catering agency the Adeyemis used and gotten herself placed there. She had waited. When the call came, the Adeyemi household needed a live-in cook ahead of the engagement season. She had answered it like it was nothing. 8 months later, she had everything she needed. Almost. The folder under her mattress contained printed emails, scanned receipts, and financial documents she had photographed with her phone over 6 patient months. Enough to build a case. Enough to take to a journalist, a regulator, a court, someone. What she had not counted on was timing. The merger had changed everything. The Korean billionaire's arrival had shifted the board in ways she had not anticipated. She was still thinking about it when she heard the convoy. 3 black SUVs rolled through the estate gates with the kind of quiet authority that expensive vehicles carry. She watched from the kitchen window, drying her hands on a cloth. The family scrambled. Mrs. Adeyemi appeared from upstairs in a kaftan she had changed into 3 times that morning. Folake descended the staircase like she was practicing for a film. The car door opened. He stepped out, and for a moment Adaeze forgot to look away. He was tall, lean, with the kind of face that gave nothing except what it chose to. He wore a dark suit, no tie. His eyes moved across the estate with the speed of someone reading a document, absorbing, filing, concluding. He shook Chief Adeyemi's hand. Listened to Mrs. Adeyemi's effusive welcome without expression. Accepted Folake's smile with a polite nod. Then his gaze moved briefly, incidentally, to the kitchen window. Adaeze stepped back, turned back to the stove. She told herself it meant nothing. She told herself a lot of things that would later turn out to be wrong. His name was Min-jun Choi. Adaeze learned it the way she learned everything in this house, by being invisible. The family spoke freely around staff. They always did. People who did not see you as human forgot that you had ears. Min-jun Choi, 34 years old. CEO of Choi Global Investments, a Seoul-based firm that acquired struggling companies, restructured them, and turned them into something worth 10 times the purchase price. He had built the company from his late father's single import business into a multinational operation that now had offices in 7 countries. He did not inherit wealth, he had multiplied it. There was a difference, and Adaeze respected the difference even as she reminded herself that respecting him was a luxury she could not afford. He was here for a merger. Adeyemi Holdings had been courting Choi Global for 2 years, dangling their Lagos real estate portfolio and their regional distribution network like bait. The marriage to Folake was the social seal on the deal, the kind of arrangement that old money on both sides used to turn business into dynasty. Min-jun had agreed to consider it. That was the word his people had used. Consider. Adaeze had noted that word carefully. She served lunch that first afternoon. Min-jun ate without performing. No excessive compliments, no commentary. Just clean, attentive eating. When she reached past him to refill the water jug, he said, without looking up, Min-jun. Thank you. Just that. 2 words. She had been in this house 8 months and Chief Adeyemi had never once said thank you to her. Not once. She said nothing. Walked back to the kitchen. Stood at the sink for a moment with the water running cold over her wrists. She told herself it was nothing. A reflex. It meant nothing about the person. It meant nothing about her. She turned off the tap. Got back to work. That evening, Folake found her alone in the kitchen. She came in and stood in the middle of the kitchen and looked at Adaeze the way she always looked at her, as if Adaeze were a minor inconvenience that the house had somehow acquired. Folake. I saw you. At the window. When he arrived. I saw you watching him. Adaeze. I was working, Ma. The window faces the gate. Folake. Don't be clever with me. He is here for me. This house, this family, this wedding, all of it is mine. You are the cook. You will stay the cook. And if I catch you making eyes at my fiancé again, I will have you removed from this property before you can pack a Bible. Are we clear? Adaeze set the knife down. Turned. Looked at Folake with an expression so calm it was almost unsettling. Adaeze. I wasn't looking at him, Ma. But I hear you clearly. Folake stared at her for a long moment, searching for something to punish, finding nothing she could name. Then she raised her hand and slapped her. Open palm. Hard enough to turn Adaeze's face sideways. The kitchen went silent. Adaeze stood completely still. She touched her cheek once, lightly, with 2 fingers. She did not cry. She did not flinch backward. She simply turned her face back to center and looked at Folake with the same unreadable calm. Adaeze. Is that all, Ma? Something moved across Folake's face, something that looked almost like fear. She turned and walked out without another word. Adaeze waited until the sound of her heels disappeared. Then she turned back to the chopping board, picked up the knife, and resumed working. Her hand was perfectly steady. But in her chest, something had shifted. Not broken, recalibrated. She could not sleep that night. She lay in her narrow staff room bed, staring at the ceiling, the folder pressed beneath the mattress underneath her like a heartbeat. She had enough. She had known for 3 months that she had enough. What she had been waiting for, if she was honest with herself in the dark, was courage. The particular courage it takes to burn something down when you have been cold for so long that even a corrupt warmth feels like something. She heard footsteps in the corridor. Slow, unhurried. She got up. Min-jun was standing at the counter in the dark, reviewing documents on his tablet, a glass of water beside him. He looked up when she entered. Neither of them spoke for a moment. Min-jun. You keep late hours. Adaeze. So do you. Sir. Min-jun. The financials don't add up. Adeyemi Holdings, their declared valuation is roughly 40% above what their actual assets support. I've been trying to decide if that is an error or a design. Adaeze. What does your gut tell you? Min-jun. Design. What does yours tell you? Adaeze. I think this family has been designing things for a very long time. And I think they are very good at making sure the designs are never traced back to them. He looked at the folder she was clutching without thinking. Old reflex, always keep it close. Min-jun. What are you holding? Adaeze. Nothing that concerns you. Min-jun. Are you sure? The kettle began to boil. She turned back to it. Min-jun. Sit down. I'll make tea. Adaeze. This is my kitchen. Min-jun. Then you make the tea and I'll ask you something that might matter to both of us. She poured the water. She told herself she was only staying because the kettle was already boiled. She told herself that twice. She made the tea. She was not sure why. She told herself it was because the kitchen was hers and she decided what happened in it. She set 2 cups on the counter. Sat across from him. Did not open the folder. He did not ask her to. Min-jun. I've been reviewing the Adeyemi Holdings financials. Their declared valuation does not match their actual asset base. The gap is significant. 40% at minimum. I have been trying to understand whether that is incompetence or intention. Adaeze. What does your instinct say? Min-jun. Intention. But I need a thread to pull. I think you might be holding one. The kitchen was very quiet. Outside, Legos continued its distant hum. Adaeze. My mother's name was Grace Okonkwo. She did not know why she started there. But once she started, she found she could not stop. She told him about the fabric business. About the bulk order. About the designs that appeared on Victoria Island 3 months later with a different label and a 5 times higher price. About the suppliers who stopped returning calls. About the court case that was dismissed before it could breathe. About the hospital bed. About the Tuesday in March. When she finished, Min-jun was quiet for a long moment. Min-jun. How long have you been in this house? Adaeze. 8 months. He opened the folder she slid across to him. Read slowly. His expression did not change, but his jaw tightened once, briefly, when he reached the bank transfer document. Min-jun. This is enough. Adaeze. I know. Min-jun. Then why are you still here? Adaeze. Because evidence without the right moment is just paper. I needed to wait until something was at stake for them. Something they couldn't recover from quietly. Your merger is that moment. He studied her face for a long time. Min-jun. If I withdraw from the merger and report the financial fraud to the NFIU, their business is finished. But your mother's story stays buried unless someone tells it publicly. Adaeze. I know. That is the part 1 intend to tell myself. Min-jun. When? Adaeze. When there is a room full of people who cannot pretend they didn't hear it. Min-jun. The wedding ceremony. Adaeze. Yes. Min-jun. That is a very high-risk stage. You could be removed before you finish speaking. Adaeze. I know that too. Min-jun. I can make sure you are not removed. I have 2 lawyers flying in from Seoul. I can have a call tonight to the NFIU. Investigators can be present at the ceremony before the family knows what is happening. Adaeze. Why would you do that? Min-jun. Because a man who builds wealth on stolen ground deserves to have it taken back. And because my mother built a business from nothing too. I think she would have liked yours very much. The silence that followed was the kind that changes the temperature of a room. Adaeze looked down at the folder. Back up at him. Every instinct she had told her to close this down. But she thought about Folake's handprint on her cheek. She thought about her mother apologizing from a hospital bed for things that were never her fault. She extended her hand. Adaeze, if you pull back at any point, I will find another way. I always do. He looked at her hand. Then he shook it. Min-jun, I won't pull back. She nodded once, picked up the folder, walked back to her room. She did not sleep at all that night. But for the first time in 8 months, it was not grief keeping her awake. It was something that felt dangerously close to hope. The following morning, the family had gone to a pre-wedding event at their club. The house was quiet. Min-jun came to the kitchen and without a word picked up a dish and began to dry it. Adaeze, you don't have to do that. Min-jun, I know. They worked in silence. It was comfortable, the kind of comfortable that takes time to build. Min-jun, tell me something about her. Something that isn't in the folder. Adaeze, she sang when she worked. Old Igbo songs, folk songs, sometimes she made up her own words. When business was good, she sang loudly. When things were hard, she sang softly. But she always sang. Min-jun, she sounds remarkable. Adaeze, she was ordinary. That's what they never understood about her. She built everything from ordinary things, ordinary hands, ordinary hours, ordinary faith. There was nothing ordinary about what she created. The kitchen held both of them in its warmth. Neither moved for a little while. Then Adaeze said softly, Adaeze, she would have liked you. Chief Adeyemi found Min-jun the following afternoon and made the situation explicit with a smile. Finalize the deal and marry Folake, or doing business in Nigeria would become very difficult. Min-jun listened, nodded, said nothing, then called Seoul. Min-jun, get everything finalized by morning. The NFIU submission ready at 5 a.m. And tell the lawyers to be on the first flight out. That same night, Mrs. Adeyemi found the folder. She called her husband. He read the documents. His jaw tightened. His face went gray. Chief Adeyemi, handle her quietly. Before morning, in the kitchen, Adaeze hummed softly while the pepper soup simmered. She did not know they had found it. But she had prepared for this day from the very beginning. CTA placement subscribe /like /comment. CTA, they found the folder. The wedding is in 18 hours. If you are not subscribed yet, this is your last warning before everything explodes. The morning of the wedding arrived like a held breath. Adaeze was up before the sun. She moved through the kitchen with precision, preparing the wedding breakfast, arranging the canopy trays, boiling water for the family's tea. Anyone watching would have seen nothing unusual. A cook doing her job. Invisible, as always. What they would not have seen was the copy of the folder already with her lawyer since 6 that morning. What they would not have seen was the WhatsApp message from Min-jun at 5:47 a.m., 3 words. Everything is set. Mrs. Adeyemi came into the kitchen at 7, wine glass already in hand. Mrs. Adeyemi, I know what you have been doing. The documents. The photographs. The little project you have been running under this roof for 8 months. I found your folder last night. You have until 6 this morning to leave this property and destroy every copy. If you are not gone, I will call the police and have you charged with theft and criminal trespass. Adaeze placed the last canopy on the tray, turned around, faced her fully. Adaeze, it is too late. Mrs. Adeyemi, I beg your pardon? Adaeze, the originals have been with my lawyer since 6 this morning. Everything you found under that mattress was a copy. It has been a copy for 3 months. Your lawyers are welcome to call mine. His name and number are already on file with the NFIU. Mrs. Adeyemi, you cannot do this. Do you know who we are? Do you know what we can do to you? Adaeze, yes. I know exactly what you can do to people. I watched you do it to my mother. The pepper soup will be ready in 20 minutes. Will the family be eating before the ceremony, ma, or after? She walked past her. Behind her, Mrs. Adeyemi stood alone in the kitchen with a trembling glass and the realization that she had badly underestimated the woman who had been cooking her meals for 8 months. Across the estate, Min-jun sat with his lawyer Kwame Asante and confirmed the final documents. Kwame, the forensic audit is complete. The declared valuation overstates the actual asset base by 42%. Fraud is the only accurate description. There is also a pattern matching 3 other cases: small businesses, women-owned, creative industries. Min-jun, file the NFIU submission now. Both sets of documentation together. And draft the formal withdrawal from the merger. Effective immediately. Kwame, that will be a significant financial loss on the acquisition costs alone. Min-jun, draft it anyway. This family has been holding a private ceremony for their crimes for 11 years. Today it becomes a public one. The ballroom was extraordinary. 200 candles. Ivory draping. 200 guests in traditional wear. Folake walked in on her father's arm, white dress, diamonds, a tiara, luminous and rehearsed. Adaeze stood against the back wall with the staff, hands clasped, watching. The officiant turned to Min-jun. Min-jun stepped forward. But not toward Folake. He walked slowly, deliberately, in absolute silence, all the way to the back wall. 200 people turned in their seats. The string quartet faltered and stopped. He stopped in front of Adaeze. Min-jun, are you ready? She held his gaze for 1 full second. Then she straightened, spine already straight, going straighter, and nodded once. He turned to face the room. Min-jun, before this ceremony continues, there are things that need to be said in this room. Things this family has hidden for years. And the only person with the right to say them is her. Chief Adeyemi. This is outrageous. Security. Kwame Asante. I would sit down, Chief. Before you make this significantly worse for yourself. Adaeze stepped forward into the center of the aisle. She was not afraid. Adaeze. My name is Adaeze Okonkwo. My mother was Grace Okonkwo. And 11 years ago, the Adeyemi family destroyed everything she built. She spoke for 7 minutes. She named the bulk order, the date it was placed and the date it was delivered and the date, 3 months later, that Grace's designs appeared on Victoria Island under a different label. She named the boutique owner. She named the bank transfer amount. She named the 3 suppliers who had been pressured to blacklist Grace Okonkwo under direct instruction from Chief Adeyemi's office. She named the banker. NFIU officer. Sir, my name is Officer Biodun Lawal of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. I would ask you to remain where you are. Folake was crying real tears this time, ugly and lost. Mrs. Adeyemi sat frozen. Chief Adeyemi looked, for the first time in perhaps his entire life, like a small man in a large suit. Adaeze stood in the middle of it all and felt something leave her body. Not anger. Anger had kept her upright for 2 years, and she was grateful for it. But this was something heavier. The particular weight of a promise kept to someone who could no longer hear it. Adaeze. She deserved to see this day. I see you, Mama. The ballroom emptied gradually. NFIU officers spoke quietly with a gray-faced Chief Adeyemi. The flowers were still perfect. The candles still burning. The cake stood untouched, 5 tiers, white fondant, gold lettering that said forever begins today. Adaeze stood alone in the center of the empty room. She felt the 2-year weight release, slowly, the way a fist unclenches after a long time closed. Min-jun came and stood beside her. Min-jun, how do you feel? Adaeze. Strange. Light. Like I put something down and now I'm not sure what to do with my hands. Min-jun. What happens now? Adaeze. I rebuild what they burned. My mother's business. The fabric. The designs. I've had a business plan ready for 14 months. I was waiting until I had a reason to believe it could work. Min-jun. I know investors. Adaeze. I don't need investors, Min-jun. He held her gaze for a moment. Then, softly. Min-jun. No. You never did. She looked at him a moment longer than she planned to. Then she descended the steps. Walked down the aisle. Pushed open the ballroom doors and walked out into the Lagos morning. Bright, loud, completely alive. the city receiving her with the indifferent generosity it gave to everyone who came to it with something to prove. She did not look back. Behind her, Min-jun stood in the doorway of the empty ballroom and watched the most extraordinary woman he had ever met walk into the city like she owned every inch of it. He smiled. Then he followed her out. They thought she was the cook. They thought she was invisible. They thought they could take everything from her mother and pay no price. Adeyemi just sent them the bill in front of everyone.